Vortexians on, and it's time for the PE Clef String Ensemble. My name is Jacob Maloon, and welcome to Vintage Keys Studio. Today we are going to be looking at this quite rare instrument. It was built from a magazine article in mid-1978 from Practical Electronics magazine. And here is that very article. Month by month it showed you how to make the instrument, and it supplied you with various circuit boards and bits and pieces, and I think the sort of like the hardware for it was supplied to you as well for a kind of reduced rate of money. It was designed by A.J. Boothman. Busk. This one was a recent purchase from eBay, and I was just sitting there one evening, and all of a sudden I was just sort of found myself typing string ensemble, even though I've already got 2 Godwin string ensembles. And I thought, well, let's just have a look and see what they've got. And this popped up, and I thought, I've never seen one of those before. Wonder what it is. And I found myself drawn to the buy it now button. And I won't tell you how much I paid for it. So I'll take you on a tour of the PE String Ensemble by A.J. Boothman. Now, first of all, as you look at the front of this thing, you can see it's got various controls on there. Some of the original stickers that the person who made it put on are a bit worse for wear now, so I've started to fill them in as best as I possibly can. Most of them I can see that says wood, and that's brass, that's strings. But I've got my Sharpie out earlier, and I've just sort of been filling them in, so I've done that one there. And then we've got this one here as well. I'm not sure what that's supposed to say, but we'll soon find out. Now this thing is really good because most synthesizers are screwed together, but not this one. All you need to do with this one to get inside is to just go, and it's all there, open to view and to kill you. I have put some tape over that so I don't accidentally touch the transformer, because you've basically got the mains coming into the back, going out of here, I won't point too closely, and then one lead goes into the fuse and then out of there again, and then another lead goes into the switch, then it goes into the transformer, out of the transformer, into the electronic-y bit underneath. Now, this didn't come with a pencil, but I managed to find one that fits just right. This has got a liftable sort of drawbridge thing, and ta-da! This is the power supply and the tone generator board made by the synth company Clef, which would have supplied the parts to the person making this. This is the chorus effect board, and this is the voice board that does all the kind of like shaping of the sound. So this is the thing that the power is coming out of this transformer into here. It's being rectified into DC, and then being supplied to various different bits of the workings. The tone generator on this keyboard works from a single IC called an AY10212, which I think is that one, but I can't quite tell because I haven't got my glasses on. Yes, it is. It's that one. So that's where the 2 megahertz master tone originates from, and then it goes out via these ICs and then into these ICs, which are 4024s, and it divides the one master frequency up into the 12 tones that you need to play on a keyboard for obviously I won't go through the whole lot because it'll take too long, but A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, and yeah, you know. So anyway, so that's that. You can see all these little bits of stringy string stuff. These are going to each individual note, so every note has its own little point on here which is connected by a wire. This thing here is just like a screen to prevent what they call beehiving. And you can probably hear on the recording now that there is a kind of like a general sort of like musical buzzing-y sort of like bee noise, and that is called beehiving. And without this earth screen on it, it gets ever so slightly louder, but it doesn't really do a huge amount. But it's quite nice to have it there. But the beehiving usually comes from basically the interference between the different boards and the different parts of the circuitry and all that sort of thing. So each note on this, I'll just play a note. So these notes are connected up via switches and work with logic gates for the sort of the on and the off. There's a bus bar just under here with a spring on it, very like Lowry organs have got those. So this little spring here. So if I connect a screwdriver to the bus bar and then touch that, the note comes on, because obviously it's just touching, has to make a contact there. So that's quite a sort of an old-fashioned way of doing it. This here is the sort of the keyboard, the diode section, and it's also got it's where the attack and sustain happens. The attack for each note has got its own capacitor here. These big blue things, and at the moment the attack setting is sort of off really, and the sustain is off. But what happens is if I push this attack potentiometer that way, you can't really hear that much of an effect with it, but it kind of you can hear it sort of going and getting a bit louder. What's happening is it's charging up this capacitor. So when it's like that, the capacitor just sort of does it very quickly, but when it's like that, it takes longer to charge up. And then you can get the sustain, and it works in the reverse, and you hit the note and it sustains, and it's because the capacitor's discharging. And again, that you can vary that, not a huge amount, but vary that on there. I can't really go into too much detail there because I personally don't understand it all, because it's a bit too much for me. But you can have a look in the book, or the magazine, which I'll put a link to down below. Now I've made some modifications to this thing. I will play it in a minute, by the way. I'll just give you some idea of what it sounds like. But I've made some modifications to this. I've built this little sort of breakout. It's not really a breakout thing, but it's like a I call it the oranges and the lemons. It's got two controls there, which are wired up to this voice board, basically replacing two little 47k potentiometers or little trim pots that were in there originally. Which when I got this thing, I realised that you could actually vary the sound quite a lot by messing about with those. So I thought, rather than having to use a screwdriver every time, I could just use it there. So it's basically just an extension. So there's like 47k, 4 of those, and those two there are connected to the chorus board in the same way. There was originally a potentiometer there and a one there as well. So you can see these crude wires I've put in there. They're just coming out of there and then connected into that. There's always also a switch of misery as well, which I'll demonstrate in a minute, which you can't quite see. There's a black switch there. One end is connected to the second pin of this trim pot, and the other one's connected to ground. And what it basically does is this trim pot starts. It's the start of the vibrato sound, or the chorusy vibrato-y sound, and that one starts it off. So you can hear it sort of making that noise there. If I turn this trim pot to the left, so it shorts it to ground, listen to what happens. So if I now turn that round, the vibrato-y chorusy effect has disappeared. And then if I turn it back round to the middle, I have to wait for a few seconds on this thing, you can hear it starts to work again. So what I've done is I've basically put a switch in the place, well, that's still there, but I've put a switch sort of over it so it will override the chorus board. Anyway, let's just demonstrate some sounds and try not to die. So we have, if I just play you the basically you've got the sort of the strings, that's the lower string sound. There's this weird sort of lower voice thing, which I can't quite work out exactly how it's working, but there's the low voice there, up to the E flat there, and then there's a higher octave and then that even higher octave there. So you can be couples it basically to the sound that you've already got on there. So let's just put a bit of an attack on there so it sounds more stringy. Right, so the sounds you've got on here are, what I'll do is I'll turn that chorus thing completely off first. So you've got the lower strings there. So that's without any effects on it. Then you've got the octave above that for the highest upper string sound. And then you've got this sort of woodwind type sound. And then a more brassier sound, which is very similar to the woodwind, but I'll get to that in a minute because I've modified these two here. So first of all, let's just have a listen to the strings, and then I'll put the switch of Misery, I'll switch it off, switch the chorus back on, and we have to wait around for the Bucket Brigade delay line to start going in and out of phase with itself. There's two chorus channels in there that are opposite, so when one is sort of positive, the other one's like 180 degrees out, so one's 80 degrees one way and the 180 degrees one way, one's 180 degrees the other way, and they sort of shift around. So you can hear, if I just turn that down a bit. So if I put this control here is the fast chorus effect, and the fast modulation, and this control here controls the slow chorus modulation. So at the moment it's a sort of like a very, very, very slow phasing effect. And then if I turn it round there, you can hear it. And then if I start to move this round, this top one, the faster one, you get the vibrato sound coming in. And then it starts to sound more kind of like, a bit like the Godwin synth now. You've got that kind of interplay between the two modulations. And then it goes quite extreme. And then if I turn it right round to full, you can hear that's like full blown. Yeah, so it's quite a nice effect you get there, and also I like the fact that it takes a while for it to get going. So as I move the pots, it sort of like screws with the modulation a bit, and it's going, and it kind of has to wait for one of the points in the delay line to sort of, it basically does one thing and then does the same thing again and then does, and so it's like a long line of delays. Again, it's difficult for me to describe because I'm a bit thick. But if you read the book that I've put the link to, if you're interested in it, you can hear when I move that, it sort of does a bit and then sort of thinks about it. And it's also the reason why when I put the switch of misery on, yeah, so it's gone there. So I put the switch of misery on. That switched it completely off, the chorus, and then switched the switch on. And let's time how long that takes to come back in again. About 4 or 5 seconds. So if you're playing something live with this, you need to just think maybe 5 seconds ahead. So anyway, that's the chorus in this, which I think is quite. I mean, there's lots of synthesizers that do similar stuff, but I quite like that sound. Now let's just show you the wood and the brass as well. So we've got. Well, I'll start with the brass. What I've done here with these orange controls is I've linked them up to the sort of the voice shaping part of the circuit with the filters in it. So this one controls the brass tone and filter, and this one controls the woodwind or wood one. So if I just play a brass note, if I just turn the chorus completely off. And then you've got, if I turn that one off and then put the wood one on by itself. Similar sort of thing really, but because you've got the ability to kind of change the tone a bit, you can make a lot more sounds than this originally. When this originally came to me, it was just like strings, wood and brass, and they were all kind of very similar. And I'll just very quickly show you what the bitch control does. Just turn that down a bit. Yeah, so it basically just shifts everything down a semitone. Some organs, like sort of church organs and stuff like that, have that function on them. But I suppose most keyboards have it on as well. But I personally wouldn't use the pitch function myself because I've got perfect pitch or perfect pitch, and if I play a note that I think is going to be a C. Let's just check that. Yeah. Yeah, so if I play like a G, for instance, which is that, if it sounds like that, that to me is an A. But pressing a G and playing an A doesn't compute with me. It's like sitting down to type on a like a computer keyboard or a typewriter, and you go to type the letter T and it comes out with a Q. Or it's like driving a car when a manual car, when you put it into first gear, it goes into third, and you put it into second gear, it goes into fourth. So that's what playing an out of tune piano or keyboard is like for someone with perfect pitch. But that's beside the point. Oh, the other two controls I haven't mentioned are the master level here and the other master level here. They seem to do exactly the same thing. Yeah, so that's basically it. And it's just a great little thing, and it makes some really cool noises that I very much like, and I'm very pleased with it. And I didn't electrocute myself once. I mean, you're not really going to unless you touch this part. But yes, it's got some nice bits inside it, and it comes in a lovely case that reminds me of a vampire's coffin. The PE Clef String Ensemble from 1978. A wonderful thing, and it's a very welcome addition to the studio here. I've already got about 3 people interested in using it, which is great. Just a bit of a shout out to the man I bought this thing off, called Mike. Hello, Mike. Thank you very much. It's great. The link to the sort of manual on the thing to how to build one, if you really want to try and build one now, is down below. So yes, I hope you've enjoyed this latest instalment from Vintage Key Studios with me. All the usual like and subscribe and stuff. If you subscribe to us, then you'll see other stuff we do. We've got a Patreon for donations from people. You can get some interesting things on there anyway. Good luck editing that. Check out the Vintage Keys website. There's loads of other stuff on there, and all the other videos, but there's lots of stuff on the website as well. And we also have a record label that has various things on, a few things by me and some other stuff as well. You might quite like that, or you might not. So anyway, from me, Steve, or Jakob, it's good evening.